Laughter is the breath of life. I just had an unexpected laugh just blow down my throat. I had my clothes on. And she apologized, and I said, well, how can anything be any better than that? Talked about sharing pheromones, the rage pheromones that just people breathe out when they're intoxicated with it, and how it just makes you go, hee. Get the fuck away from me. It creates that rage thing. You know, you're sharing now 6 feet. I don't want to feel like you do. But to have a full-blown laughter, wouldn't even see an inch away, just get blown down your throat. There's joy. One day I'll talk about laughter and its evolution, but as we know it right now, laughter, yes, we've been conditioned to believe that it is joy. And so it is. But that's not what I was going to talk about at all. I talked a couple days ago. I did a reading from B.F. Skinner's Beyond Freedom and Dignity from 1971. It was published. And it was just a paragraph or so. I didn't want to go too far because I know, this is a fast-moving world. And when there's somebody that has 14 hours a day to drink and just gets up whenever he feels like it, which seems to happen more and more often as the day goes on, it's hard to keep up. So I cut it short. I didn't follow with this second paragraph. This is from chapter 8. Interesting, it's called The Design of a Culture. Chapter 8, The Design of a Culture. And I read that story that he talked about from Newsweekly. Operant behavior. Skinner. Pigeons. I just did that one because I'm trying to keep it short. Interesting thing is, if the name Skinner sounds familiar to you, and you understand that the people that write, what's that Springfield town with Bart Simpson? The Simpsons, they're very smart people. I personally haven't watched it in probably, 12 to 17 years, but it's because I just don't look at the TV, or didn't, or don't, or won't, or willn't, or won't, or shan't. Skinner in The Simpsons, the principal. Why do you think he was named Skinner? Nobody's ever mentioned it, as far I'm sure they have. Nobody's mentioned it to me. Principal would have been named Skinner because he was trying to raise a whole culture of people in this Springfield town. It's there's a reason for everything they did. That's what makes the show good. So we talk about the news weekly, how the story tells everything about how, oh, this is the problem with American youth, the way the society's going and all this stuff. Lack of spiritual and just depressed and all this stuff. And he, at the end of it, he's talking about how, he says, this is all fair and well, but everybody knows these statements. And there it is at the end. He says, the troublesome behavior is not actually described, and nothing that can be done to change it is mentioned. Burris wouldn't like me because I'm just talking about things. If I say something that somebody decides they can do something with, they should. I'm an idea man. I can put on a roof on a house to keep the snow from coming under the eaves of the garage. I just... But then there in the next, he says, consider a young man whose world has suddenly changed. He has graduated from college and is going to work, let us say, or has been inducted into the armed services. Most of the behavior he has acquired up to this point proves useless in his new environment. The behavior he actually exhibits can be described, and the description is translated as follows. He lacks assurance, or feels insecure, or is unsure of himself. Parenthesis. His behavior is weak and inappropriate. Parenthesis. He is dissatisfied or discouraged. Parenthesis. He is seldom reinforced, and as a result, his behavior undergoes extinction. Parenthesis. He is frustrated. Parenthesis. Extinction is accompanied by emotional responses. Parenthesis. He feels uneasy or anxious. Parenthesis. His behavior frequently has unavoidable aversive consequences which have emotional effects. Parenthesis. There is nothing he wants to do or enjoys doing well. He has no feeling of craftsmanship, no sense of leading a purposeful life, no sense of accomplishment. Parenthesis. He is rarely reinforced for doing anything. Parenthesis. Shoo-shoo. Accentuation. He feels guilty or unashamed. Parenthesis. He has previously been punished for idleness or failure, which now evokes emotional responses. Parenthesis. He is disappointed in himself or disguised with himself. Disgusted. Parenthesis. He is no longer reinforced by the admiration of others, and the extinction which follows has emotional effects. He becomes hypochondriacal. He concludes that he is ill. Or neurotic. He engages in a variety of ineffective modes of escape. And he experiences an identity crisis. He does not recognize the person he once called I. You see that? He's bringing it all down to a level. He's going to go on. He does. He goes on How do you deal with this? But it's not like dealing with it, so far as I can see, not dealing with it in a way that makes a better personal person, but a better societal person. Seems to me like he's just found a way to get us all to follow the line, you know? Do you see the line? I see the line. Like a chicken. You draw a line in front of its face, in front of its beak, and as you draw that line, it looks at it, and it looks at it, and it hypnotizes it. And you draw that line in the dirt, and then you pick it up, and you go, "Whaka!" and you fucking crack its neck. That's one of the ways to kill a chicken. But they don't want to kill us. They just want to keep us all in line. It mentions being inducted to the armed services, and that's one of the ways. But I've told you before, they're in bayonet training to kill, drill sergeant, to kill, and I'm looking around, everybody's like, blood, 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 and they're all glazed, and I'm going, this is where they fucking do it. I never got caught up by these consequences, these reinforces, these people that they talk about, how you just need to be accepted. By whom? By you. After that, you will find people will find you, and that's what happened in the army. Plenty of people thought they were running me down a direction, but I was already there. I was like, you think you made a drinker out of me? Oh, yeah, we made a drinker out of him. I'm like, I was just waiting to find somebody that I could drink with. 17-year-old kid. Old enough to go to war, or you're old enough to die of liver failure. That's what I say, or somebody said. And so there I waited for like 2 weeks when I got to permanent party and watched people, and I became friends with people that I wanted to be. And so in a sense, I was already that person. I just needed the reinforcement. There it is. And the thing is, it didn't work for the army. By the time I was getting out of there, oh my gosh. It was like, take somebody who recognizes what they're doing to them and doesn't give a shit and doesn't play along. You've got all these people on the fence. All these people on the fence that are just not even knowing they're waiting for it. But here comes this little kid, and they think they're teaching him, but he's teaching them. I'm sorry, it may be pretty arrogant to say, but I do have a letter in there from the army how I changed them, and they said, good idea, and it pissed off some people. They tried to change me for so long, and in the end, on the way out, I changed them. The U.S. military. But, yeah. By the end of it, we'd be running down the road saying, if you ain't an engineer, they'd say, and you say, you ain't shit. And they'd say, you might as well, and you'd say, go to hell. As we were running by different battalions, they would sing that. But one time before it, when everything was already let loose and there was a total lack of order, Scamp brought it up. Somehow it came up. Instead of go to hell, say suck Scamp's dick. So that day, we're running down the road going by, you ain't engineer, you ain't shit, you might as well. And like 5 of us said, suck Scamp's dick. And it screamed loud through the go to hell thing because it was in contrast. And within a couple of weeks, the whole damn company was screaming that as we're running by other units, you might as well. And everybody'd say, suck Scamp's dick. And it was First Sergeant During's like, ha! He couldn't control us. That's what happens when you take somebody that's supposed to be reinforced in a way that puts them in a total mentality of a culture, and that person says, I can live in this culture, but it's not something I gotta be a part of, even though it's mine.